Back, Vogt.
Yeah, did we ever leave, Wind?
We are back in the Toyota Lounge. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the DNVR Nuggets Podcast. We are here live in the Toyota Lounge.
Beep, beep.
Happy to be here again. You guys are there in the Toyota chat as well. Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. Harrison, Wind and Brendan Vogt here on today's show. We were just talking about this upstairs. I think this is the shortest layoff we've had in between end of a post-game show and beginning of a show the next day.
Yeah, you have to throw out a mailbag. We appreciate all of you making the content a little easier. Not a lot's changed. So you do want to know what other people have on their minds because there's a lot of shows to fill here, Wind. A lot of shows going on.
Last night's show, I remember because we have a clock right there that counts how long the show is. It was at 1 hour and 35 minutes when we stopped. And what time do we leave the studio, Kale?
It was like 12:45.
Almost 1.
Yeah.
I think I went to sleep after 4.
Yeah, how many super chats? They've been getting
75 super chats. We raised the limit to $5 on super chats. Didn't matter. Still got even more super chats than we did after game 4.
Dude, we almost did 2 hours the other night. But hey, who are we? What are we complaining for, Wind? What a treat. What a privilege. Another great day to be us.
Of course, man. Like, I am so lucky to be on a podcast, to be watching a team, to be watching basketball when Nikola Jokic is playing. How could I complain?
Exactly, man.
I can't complain.
I'm honestly in a great mood. Haven't slept. It doesn't matter.
Did you really not sleep?
I did not sleep. It's 7 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're up until 7 a.m.
Well, first of all, that we weren't done till 2. And then I don't know about you, but when I write, I get wired. Like, it takes a while to quiet my brain down after it's been working. So then I just stay up, which I don't recommend.
Well, we're here now on the podcast again in the Toyota Lounge. If you've got thoughts on last night's game, hit us in the Toyota chat there as well. I want to go over some moments, relive some, specific events of last night's game, and then we'll get into the mailbag. A lot of great questions in the mailbag, so thanks, guys, for that. Being at the game, you were there, I was here. What's the one play that sticks out to you? Because we were having this debate on the show last night. What is the signature play from that game, which we're just calling the MV3 game? He gets the trophy. He has the 40 points. Jokic turns in what I think is the best game of his career. If you had to think of one play from last night, what's the play that comes to mind? Because I think there are a couple contenders.
Yeah. Step back 3 is underrated.
Yep.
The step back 3 was because everything else was one-on-one in the post. What are you going to do? And then the step back, he kind of danced a little bit.
That's the thing about the step back 3.
Because he doesn't even he will sombor, but that's to get an inch of space. He danced a little.
He crossed Gobert up, gave him a little shoulder shake.
Rocked a little bit, dude.
Yeah, and then stepped back.
Almost a little bit LeBron looked at the ball, kind of, and then that thing was good the second it left his hand. So that's underrated. It might be the, I think our guy, DNVR Nick, had a great shot of this one. The high arching and one that just looks like
the ballet twirl.
Yeah, and you're like, how is this going in? If you just look at this still shot, but then you realize who shot it. It's Jokic, of course, that went in.
Can I nominate an underrated one?
Yeah.
It's that you think he's trapped, you think he's trapped, you think he's trapped, and then he does that spin move under the baseline. Right over there, and then hits that right-handed hook.
Fading away.
That angle that I thought was impossible, and then it just splashes.
Yeah. So there are a lot of contenders. The three-pointer could be it, though.
It was great, man. I'll tell you what I think.
Because that was the dagger.
Well, There's the dagger, and it was the cherry on top. It was the firework on top, of everything that game was and represented. And so that was awesome. I thought it wasn't necessarily when the arena got the loudest. It probably was. But two other moments that stand to mind: when Christian Brown blocked Aaron Gordon in the second quarter, or Anthony Edwards in the second quarter.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem significant, but the crowd loved that one. And then when Gordon poked the loose ball and basically turned it into a fast break and dunked, I thought that those were the moments where the crowd, how sometimes the crowd knows they're going to win well before the run comes. I just thought it was one of those.
I went back and watched all his made shots this morning, and the thing about the three-pointer was that there was such a crescendo moment when that was happening. It felt like the dagger when you were watching. And Kevin Harlan's call was also so good. He says something like Jokic is painting a masterpiece or something like that. And then the bad part, though, about the one where he's twisting and twirling and throwing it up like that, Ali LaForce is doing like a sideline hit during that play.
Of course.
So it kind of ruins the moment if you have the sound on. But the three was the dagger. And then I think it led into a timeout, too. Do you remember Julian Strother's face and what he was doing on the bench during that?
So I didn't catch it live, but that's some of the fun stuff about that's also how you end up staying up till 7 a.m. as you joy scroll. And
The bench was going crazy after that.
I think it reminded me of, I remember when my dad first showed me Larry Bird highlights, and everyone on his bench is losing their minds. And then
look at him.
Yeah.
Looks like he just saw the resurrection.
And then if we obviously don't have shots right now, but then when you look at the other bench, it's also like the Larry Bird clips. They're in disbelief. They're reaching levels of deflation never before seen. It was, but the bench knew what everyone in the crowd knew, man. That was one of those moments that is going to go down in history, but you're there in the present watching it unfold. And that's why everyone pays so much money to go see these guys play, because moments and players like that can make it all worth it.
Yeah. What do you think about the actual MVP presentation? Was that cool?
It was cool. It was really cool. Everyone was into it. And I don't mean this, no one did anything wrong. We're getting used to this. We're getting used to
it. It's like another MVP.
Jokic is
there's
used
Adam
to it.
Silver.
Totally, man.
Give him the trophy. All right.
The crowd was excited, but it was also we got a game to play. You know, everyone knew there was kind of almost bigger fish to fry. Not to dismiss Jokic becoming the 9th ever player to win his 3rd MVP, but it was been there, done that. And that's kind of a hard thing to believe for an organization like the Denver Nuggets and their fans.
I was so curious about what type of game Jokic was going to have last night, because heading into every game, we've been like, all right, the statement game from Jokic is coming. It's coming. And he's had some unbelievable games in this series, specifically games 3 and games 4. But when you have a presentation like that, just like when you get your rings on ring night, I'm always curious, how does the team respond to that? Are they a little distracted? Are they a little thrown off of their pregame routine? But no, Jokic was absolutely locked in, comes out, has a great first quarter. It didn't affect them at all, and it didn't really affect the team at all. They were just focused and locked in.
If anything, it probably motivated the rest of the team. And then with Jokic, it's really funny now. Jokic was giving the same kind of quotes he's given his whole career after games 1 and 2, but he wasn't playing the way he's played in his whole career. And those quotes felt and looked to some like terrible quotes. And now it's so funny when you're on the other side of it. It's this same stoic, the same thing that keeps him from getting too low or overreacting to any one loss or looking like he doesn't care. It's the same thing that keeps him even keel when everything's going his way, when there's all this pressure and when there's all this attention. Jokic, I don't think Jokic feels it. I don't think it's that he overcomes it. I don't think he feels it. And that's just a remarkable disposition for an athlete.
Well, he was asked after the game, "Are you a genius?"
Yeah.
And he said no.
He loved the question. He thought it was hilarious.
But he did say he's a freak of nature.
Yeah, he did. He said on the dunks. I actually thought this was a good question from Vinny Benedetto, who said, are you dunking because you know that like Rudy's back there and they have all these shot blockers and you can't just put it up soft? And he said, no, man, I just had a lane and I'm a freak of nature. So why not show off my athleticism?
I still think that this qualifies as Nikola Jokic has still never told a lie because he is a freak of nature.
It is true. It is true. He's a freak of nature in different ways. Also, though, 3 of his best dunks of his career in this series.
Yeah, I mean the
big one
cock
from
back
the
one-hander.
Last night he cocked it back behind his head with 2.
Last night he cocked it back with 2.
So a couple of them at least.
You know what's funny is injuries have been a huge storyline of these playoffs. You know, not just with the Nuggets. You know, throughout the league, Jalen Brunson banged up, Luka Doncic banged up, and with the Nuggets, Jamal, KCP, Aaron Gordon. We've talked a lot about how those guys are banged up. I guarantee you Nikola Jokic is fighting through some things as well. He's played through a sore back.
I bet the wrist hurts. I bet the wrist hurts.
He's got... Did you see the bruise last night?
The bruise?
Bro's got a massive bruise on his bicep.
Yeah,
Can you find a picture of that?
he showed it to AG in the locker room.
That was like on there before the game even started.
Even they were impressed by that one. Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know, man. I will say...
But what I'm saying is his athleticism has gone up in these playoffs. While everybody else is like toned down. Yeah, that thing's nasty. Look at that. So, yeah, this is pregame.
This guy does...
Where'd that come from? He definitely didn't have that in game 4. You get that in the pool?
I know he goes to war.
Where did that bruise come from?
The size of my face, considering how large his arm.
Like, was he playing basketball in the pool with his brother?
Jokic might have stigmata, man. I'm not going to lie. Like, this stuff, I know he gets fouled a lot, but he's just constantly bleeding and bruised. But yeah, man, it shows you how well he fights through it. And you're absolutely right, by the way, which is, I think, part of why Murray's been so dismissive in terms of talking about his injury.
Yeah.
They're all hurt. I mean, Jokic, you know, when we see sore back on the injury report throughout the year, like, yes, they're just trying to get him rest, but also he's a 7-footer who's been playing at an elite level for 5 years. I'm sure his back hurts every day, man.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure his wrist hurts every day.
He's a big guy.
But he doesn't really acknowledge that stuff externally. And I wonder if that plays into him being able to work through it internally.
I got to think it's part of it. The less you talk about it, the less you probably think about it.
Yeah.
The Nuggets defense on Anthony Edwards last night, this is the part of the game that's probably gone under the radar the most because all the conversation this morning is funny. It's about Jokic, but it's actually more somehow about Gobert.
I've noticed that.
And it's been this whole referendum on his 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, which we can talk about if we want. But the Nuggets held Anthony Edwards to 18 points, and it was a very quiet 18 on 5 of 15 shooting, 1 of 5 from 3. He did have 9 assists, but I was so impressed by the Nuggets' game plan defensively in that one. And it was a different defensive game plan than we've seen from the Nuggets in the first 4 games of the series. They did not double Anthony Edwards like they did last night earlier in this series. And everybody up and down the roster. It starts with KCP, obviously. Christian Brown was really good on him, too. But then the bigs getting involved. Jokic, Aaron Gordon, double teaming him to force the ball out of his hands. I was like pretty blown away the entire game about how locked in the Nuggets were defensively. It was so impressive, I thought.
It's so impressive and a really cool kind of point to consider when you reflect on how long a series is.
Yeah.
And so we always talk about adjustments, and you don't necessarily want to trigger that. Like, you want to hold off as long as you can, I think. And so you're giving players like Anthony Edwards different looks throughout a series. I think generally their philosophy across these 7 games is we can live with it if it's just Ant. But what I thought was fascinating, on a night when you knew he had to be arguably the best player on the floor for the Wolves to have a chance,
Yep.
when you knew he'd be hyped up for this game, then they sprung the trap. Quite literally, they trapped him. They double teamed him. And they hadn't done that yet. And so that's really, really like, I just think that that's interesting coaching to wait as long as they did.
Right.
For the right moment to sort of pounce it. Because if he's been looking at that for 3-4 games, he probably has a better sense of what to do last night.
I think that's a great point. And it's another example of how well Michael Malone's managed this series. That's another storyline. I feel like Malone's in his bag.
He really is.
With the rotations and that.
I strongly agree. And it didn't look good after 2 games. But again, that's kind of the larger point. Like I think if we look back at Malone's postseason career, it probably often hasn't looked great after 2 games, the coaching battle.
Yeah.
But that's because his first he wants plan A to work, and he's going to wait to sort of spring out the other traps and adjustments.
Right. The rotations have been great. How he's played Justin Holiday, how he's played Reggie Jackson, not that much, have been absolutely perfect. And I love how he stuck with guys through foul trouble mostly as well.
Great point. That's another great point.
Yeah. But, the defense on Anthony Edwards was great. And I do love the point about how he's waited until Game 5 to really break that out. We've seen the double teams there in bits and pieces throughout those first 4 games. But, yeah, if he sees that look in Game 2, the Timberwolves already have a counter for it by now.
Right.
If he sees that in Game 1, that would be a terrible option because they'd have a solve for that.
And another great point there in the chat by J.K. Walrus. Mike Conley was out last night, so they don't have a point guard. So that's a much more viable strategy. I think Malone has a healthy respect for Mike Conley's veteran poison IQ. And I think it's much different making Nickeil Alexander-Walker the decision maker with numbers as opposed to Mike Conley. So that's a great point in the chat there.
Yeah, we'll see if Conley plays in Game 6. We'll see.
I, for what it's worth, I had heard that people were hearing well before the game that he wasn't going to play.
Interesting.
But
he did warm up a little, you said, right?
Game time decision.
Was it kind of like a pseudo warm-up?
Uninspiring warm-up.
Yeah.
Our guy, Dane Moore, did tell us, though, that he usually is a kind of slow warm-up guy.
Uh-huh.
But I just thought it was interesting that they were, that was in the air hours before he even warmed up. Even the way they talked about Game 6, they said hopeful. I don't think they're particularly optimistic about it.
Well, they need him. If he doesn't play, I'm pretty sure it's a Nuggets win. If he does play, I think it's a 50-50 game or close to it.
I agree, man. I think it's it's easy to celebrate everything Denver did well last night because they did, but that's a huge, huge miss. The Wolves outside of Cat had stayed relatively healthy. I mean, that was a big injury, but for the most part, they stayed healthy, and this is part of why it's so hard to win 16 games. I mean, the Nuggets are seeing it with Jamal right now. Shit happens, man.
Yeah. I want to come back to that thought in a second. Let's hit a quick break, though. We'll talk more about this game, relive some more moments, and then hit the mailbag as well. I'll start. Shady Rays, get ready for the summer ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays, they've got you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays, an independent sunglass company offering world-class products rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. And if you just go to their website, they have so many different options, whatever sizes, whatever colors, whatever style you want, they've got it at shadyrays.com. Hundreds of options to choose from, no matter what kind of sunglasses you like. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com. Use the code DNVR. Get 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by 300,000 people. I've got 3 different pairs of Shady Rays by now. Have a nice rotation going. Got one for every type of occasion. If you don't love your shades, you can exchange them for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. So shadyrays.com, use the code DNVR, 35% off polarized sunglasses.
If you've been watching the Nuggets for a long time, you may have had a good feeling Jokic was going to do something like he did last night. If that's the case, take that knowledge, take that insight to Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play Underdog Fantasy. You can do daily drafts. You don't have to build a team. You don't have to have managed a team all season long to be playing fantasy basketball at Underdog right now. I love the pick'em games. It's as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats. Again, you could have picked any of them for Jokic last night. I'm sure he hit on the points, rebound, assist combination. I'm actually kicking myself for not doing it right now. Also should have faded Anthony Edwards. I thought he looked tired, and I knew those lines were high. So I should have picked lower on that pick'em. As long as you have a pick from players on both sides of the contest, you can send it in, you can play, you can win with Underdog Fantasy. Sign up today with promo code DNVR and get a first deposit offer as well as an instant pick'em special in your lobby. That's Underdog Fantasy code DNVR. QR code is there on the screen. You can scan it or click the link in the description to sign up today. Have to be 18 or older and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit mcpgambling.org.
All right, we're back here on the DNVR Nuggets podcast in the Toyota Lounge. You guys are chilling in the Toyota chat. If you got thoughts on the game, takes on the game, put them in the Toyota chat. We'll read some good ones if you guys got them. Do you think the Timberwolves are going to put up a big fight in Game 6? Because I was thinking about this on the show last night. The last time the Nuggets played a Game 6 in the playoffs, it was against the Phoenix Suns last year this exact spot.
That's a great point.
Game 6 on the road, and the Suns folded. I don't think the Timberwolves fold like the Suns did last year. I think they're a better team than that, and not just better skill-wise, just better, you know? I don't think they have that in them. I don't think they have that loser energy that the Suns had in them. I think they put up a good fight in Game 6.
I agree with that part of it. I think they have a lot more pride. I think Anthony Edwards has a lot more pride, or has exhibited a lot more pride on the floor than Devin Booker think But he also looks tired. So I don't think they're going to quit.
I feel like he expended a lot of energy guarding Jamal Murray.
That's a great point, man. And it's part of, I mean, they did let Jamal bring the ball up the floor some last night, and I think some of it is they're obsessed with pressuring the ball handler to the detriment of other parts of their defense, in my opinion. In this case, exhausting Anthony Edwards. In the case of Aaron Gordon, they should have just let him do it. They switched up matchups so they could pressure him, which was crazy to me. But yeah, I think that's a really underrated part of it, and I wanted to put it in the grades, and I didn't. But yeah, Anthony Edwards, I think as a matter of scheme and pride, wants to guard Murray, wants to pick him up full court, and that is exhausting. Anyway, to answer your question, I don't think they quit. I don't know if it matters if Mike Conley doesn't play.
Agreed.
Especially if the Nuggets come out and have a great first quarter. But I have respect for this Wolves team, man. They're at worst the third best team in the league, at worst.
Yeah. I joked on the pregame show last night that Game 5, whoever won that game last night, was going to win the championship.
Yeah.
Like, that game was for the championship because the winner of Game 5 goes on to win the series most of the time, like an overwhelmingly amount of time. And also, the Timberwolves are the second best team in the league, I think.
I think so, too.
So maybe it was for the championship. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of the talk this morning is about not so much Nikola Jokic, although it is kind of a, come to Jesus moment with him, but it's also been about Rudy Gobert. Where do you fall on this debate? Is Rudy Gobert overrated, or is this just Nikola Jokic crushing another all-NBA defender in his path in the playoffs?
I think it's the latter. You and I have talked about this in other two-mans. When I watch Jokic destroy Rudy Gobert, honestly, one of my takeaways is that Rudy Gobert is good.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert is good, and he does a good job. It doesn't matter. I think the other thing working against Rudy, not to make this a defense of him, this is actually a point about Jokic, is my point, is that Rudy's been in Jokic's division and played him in multiple playoff series. All the best Jokic stoppers are guys Jokic only sees twice a year and doesn't care about. Wendell Carter Jr.
He really doesn't care about it.
If he
just
had to,
goes
he
in
would.
there and shoots threes.
Yeah, it's fine. If there was a playoff series, he'd have a plan, right? He has spent his whole career learning how to get the better of Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
He does it routinely, but I also just want to stress, I don't really think Defensive Player of the Years are supposed to stop MVPs. Like, that's the point. Like, this is the MVP card trumps the Defensive Player of the Year card. Jokic is the best player alive. I think the Wolves had the best defense, the best scheme. I think Gobert was essential to their chances. Ultimately, I think it's futile. Of course, he's nowhere near as good as Jokic, but those guys aren't, right? Like, as impressive as Ben Wallace was, like, there's a reason. Like, do you think he was ever gonna like shut down the very best players of all time?
Right.
I don't really think that's how it works. I mean, good defenders and great value on the floor and all that, but stopping Jokic, no one can do it.
I know. I think you're right. I mean, Jokic now, just this playoffs alone, he's already conquered Anthony Davis. He's conquered Rudy Gobert. You go back to last year, he beat Gobert in the first round, then Anthony Davis conference finals, and then Bam Adebayo, who actually, maybe he's the best Jokic defender. He at least works. He makes Jokic work, I feel like, more than Gobert does.
Yes. I mean, one-on-one.
It's just strength and activity, I feel like.
One-on-one, Gobert can't guard him. Bam's a little too small, though. That's the thing.
Right.
But, and part of that is the Heat, too. They have a great coach. They do a great job of making it harder on Jokic. But, I mean, like, I don't know. Right now, as a big with a defensive reputation, I don't really know what you're supposed to do. You're either small enough that you're Bam and you can switch out and guard guys, but then you're not big enough to guard Jokic, right? Or you're Gobert, and first of all, you still can't guard Jokic, but you get fried by guards on the perimeter, understandably, and everyone thinks you suck.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, Jokic is... There's no answer right now. I think the Wolves came close. I think the Lakers came close. Well, the Lakers kind of did it with the Dwight thing.
Well, that's it. The only defense that works on Jokic, and it only works for like a game, and then he usually figures it out, is when you put either a slightly undersized guy on him who's strong, a la PJ Tucker, or just, a goon like Dwight Howard, and you just foul the shit out of him and hope the refs don't call it. That's the only defense that's ever worked on him, and we've only seen that work for like a game or 2 game stretch. Now, I mean, if you go back to the bubble, I really kind of want to go back and watch those games again because I feel like Dwight Howard's defensive impact in that series has gotten way overrated as we've gone on. But he was impactful. And then again, Jokic was a completely different player back then. This was before he was an MVP. He was not the dominant presence down low that he is now. And I think opponents were able to like play the mind game with him a little more and out physical him back then. You can't do that anymore. But
strong agree.
There's no defense for him. Nobody can stop him. Nobody can really slow him down consistently over a playoff series. And Rudy Gobert is unfortunately stuck in his division for the foreseeable future. So he'll be seeing a lot of them.
For real, man. For real. By the way, I stand corrected in the chat there by Ben Wallace. I'm young. I apologize. But
What the chat say?
That he cooked Shaq. So listen, I'm no NBA historian, but I also think Jokic would cook Ben Wallace. Is kind of my point. And
I mean, Ben Wallace was like, he was a better pure defender than Bam, but I mean that's the size he was. He was even smaller.
And also,
yeah.
And also, I kind of the point, like watching this Gobert discourse, is as we get removed from these matchups, it gets boiled down to that. But as we know, there's a lot more going on with scheme. Like it's not.
Oh yeah.
It's really rarely just one-on-one, which is why it was such a treat last night that Jokic found so many one-on-one moments, that the Nuggets created so many one-on-one moments of Jokic versus Gobert. And again, it's not to dunk on Rudy. It's about Jokic. He had a hyper-efficient 40 points, and his plan A was to shoot every time the 4-time DPOY guarded him straight up. That's insane. That's insane. And I think, like, Jokic is not going to win every game or every series of his career, but I hope we've slammed the door for some sort of temporary period here on relitigating who he is or who he might not be. Jokic has given us his answer. He's the best player alive, and no one in the league right now is close.
Yeah, it really felt like one of those moments across the whole NBA landscape last night for sure. You know who also had a low-key great game was Aaron Gordon.
Yes.
Dude, how can you not just freaking love Aaron Gordon, man? The guy represents everything like Jokic that's good about the game of basketball. And I just come away so impressed with him after games like this, doing the dirty work. He had 18 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Looking to fight people, like looking to stand up for his guys. He tried to go chest to chest with McDaniels last night after he like wrapped up Murray. He is really the soul of this team.
He's so cool, man, and he's fearless now. He's fearless now, and it's funny, the first 2 games, it looked like there was nothing Denver could do with him on the floor, just nothing. But haven't we been there before with Aaron Gordon? Both at full strength, that team rather, both at full strength, and missing some guys. He's learned how to lose and learned how to win, and learned why those things happened alongside Jokic. Brave. He's a brave player now, which is a weird way to say it, but I think that's so much of it in the postseason. And against a defense, that defense was built to hold Jokic down. It was built to expose Aaron Gordon. And my God, did he step up in different ways as a wing, as a smash mouth power forward, as a transition maestro. And he just had so much energy last night, man. Those 2 charges he took in a matter of minutes.
Oh my God, the charges.
By the way, did you see, I don't know if the broadcast had a good Michael Malone angle on those charges.
What, he was going crazy?
Oh, he lost his goddamn mind.
I
just
would
full
be surprised.
power stance, double fist pump, let's go, triple clap. I think I could see veins from yards away.
And Aaron Gordon took 2 of those when he had 2 fouls. Those
a great
were
point.
risky takes.
That's a great point, Wind.
And he did.
He I think has committed maybe more than any player alongside Jokic to just whatever this guy says and does, I'm doing that too. The whole thing, on and off the court, his whole approach to basketball and being a pro, like it's clearly working for Jokic. I'm doing it too. And an egoless approach in Denver, we can't say enough about his malleable productivity.
And you also got to credit the Nuggets and the coaching staff for tweaking their game plan so Gordon's more involved.
Yes.
So games 1 and 2, he was totally eliminated from their offense. And Denver has found ways, moving him around the floor, getting him involved earlier in the shot clock to really make him effective again. So.
Even the threes, Wind, not necessarily a coincidence. Are you familiar with the right corner thing going on with Aaron Gordon?
Is he just really good from the right corner?
So in the regular season, he was a legitimately dreadful three-point shooter across the floor. Legitimately good three-point shooter from the right corner. Seemed like a coincidence, except going into last night, Gordon was 8 of 12 from 3 in the series. 10 of those threes from the right corner, where he made 5 of them. So 5 of his 8 makes are from the right corner. So even those, while not necessarily sustainable, maybe not an accident. Maybe if Gordon has to take perimeter shots, we want it to be here. We're comfortable with him taking it. He certainly looked comfortable.
Yeah, see, I love Gordon shooting threes. I'm cool with him shooting 3 threes a game. I feel like he deserves it because he works so hard in other aspects of the game. And if he hits 1 or 2, those are huge momentum shots. So I'm cool with him taking 2 or 3 of those a game.
I agree, man. I agree.
Let's hit another break. We'll get to the mailbag on the other side here on the DNVR Nuggets podcast. I want to talk to you guys about Dialed In Gummies. Get dialed in with these guys. Dialed In Gummies, Colorado's premium cannabis gummy specializing in craft and small batch for the past few years strong. These guys are so awesome. They've got a ton of unique batches out right now. They've made over 2,500 unique batches since 2020. Right now, they've got batch 1950. Shout out to Rocky, the Nuggets mascot. And batch 1942. Shout out, smells like Team Spirit. Shout out to the Avs, although the Avs don't have much Team Spirit.
No, you can turn it around by just taking a bunch of those gummies. That's my plan tonight. I got the Avs package, so do my best.
Do the Avs play tonight? They do, right?
Do they?
They're in Dallas.
Come on, boys. Hey, listen. We talked about this with the big homie Ryan Koenigsberg.
That is his last name.
I always say RK. I'm never really sure, man. Did I get it right?
That's his last name, yes.
And he said that the Nuggets being down 2-0 obviously sucked at the time, but it also reinvigorated the whole fraud city belief in the team, like
Might
passion.
have just reinvigorated the team too. The actual players.
Quite possible. So no one wants to be down 3-1.
Yeah.
But the other perspective is, man, if they can come back from this, we're cooking with grease here.
Dowd and Gummies, just what you need. Check out their unique batches. They've been doing them since 2020. Not only do they make it a point to prioritize collaboration and collaborate with the most quality material suppliers in all of Colorado, they creatively use small batch to tether to current events in Colorado. DialedInGummies.com or visit a dispensary near you.
If you want to go to Vegas, which does sound awesome, and one way or another, Wind, we'll be headed to Vegas soon enough here as the
Summer League in less than
approaches.
2 months.
Less than 2 months.
Less than 2 months.
By the time this show's over, we'll be at Summer League. Take the playoff plunge. When we go, we'll be staying at Circa Resort and Casino. You can take the playoff plunge at Circa Stadium Swim to watch your favorite teams during the playoffs. Use code DNVR20 at checkout for 20% off. Peek up at the screen there. See that awesome looking pool with that massive screen? That Stadium Swim. It's the best place to beat the heat, watch your favorite teams win, and your favorite bets play out when you're hanging out at Vegas' first ever adults-only casino resort. So experience Stadium Swim and watch your favorite teams at Circa Resort and Casino. That's our home away from home in the desert. Book your stay with code DNVR20 for 20% off.
All right, back here on the DNVR Nuggets podcast. We're here in the Toyota Lounge talking about this Nuggets Game 5 win. You weren't on the show last night, Vogt, but there was a dog on the show.
I saw that. I saw that because
His
someone...
name was Copper.
It's a
He
great...
fell asleep in D-Line's lap.
That's what we were doing the presser, and someone just tapped me on the shoulder, and they showed me a picture of D-Line with the happiest smile.
I don't know if I've ever seen him happier, man.
You haven't. Happy to answer that question for
And the
you.
Nuggets won a championship
It's so true.
less than 12 months ago.
Listen, I love D-Line. There's been kind of a dark cloud, you know? And shout out Copper, because I think it's lifted.
Well, the funniest thing about Copper is he was also at the game last night.
What?
Yeah.
What a run for Copper.
And one of our friends sent us a picture of him at the game.
That's amazing.
Can you
Cute
bring this
dog.
up, Kel, real quick? I just sent it to you in the DM. And this
Yeah.
person said they've never seen a dog at a game in 40 years.
I actually don't think I had... Did they sneak Copper in? Is Copper
Oh,
small enough?
I think he's a service dog, yeah.
It's a service. I'm going to go with they snuck
Look at
in.
him at the game
What a good looking
wearing a
pup.
Nuggets jersey.
Oh, man, that's great. That's great. Eric's best friend. Dev is replaced.
I feel like next show it should just be Eric and Copper on the couch.
Dude, I seriously have never seen him smile like that.
I was like, are you high? Or are you just really happy about this dog?
It was actually a read for Dialed In Gummies.
All right, let's hit the mailbag. Got a lot of good questions from you guys, so thanks for those. Really appreciate it. This one comes from King Kern.
Good question.
Great question. Do you think Christian Brown is going to be ready as a starter next season after this playoff experience? If not, what part of his game needs to work on? Does he need to work on?
I'll let you start with this one, brother.
Okay.
Unless you want me to.
I can start. Is he ready to be a starter? Yeah. I think he could start. I think he could start at the 2 next season, absolutely. I think this playoffs is going to be really big for him. Another summer in the lab, too. And I think it's a very potential scenario that happens.
Yeah.
You know, KCP could be a free agent. I feel like he's going to get absolutely paid. And I don't think the Nuggets are going to want to go into the second apron to retain him. So I think there's a decent shot KCP's gone. And Christian Brown would be the likely replacement. And I think he's obviously not the shooter that KCP is. I don't think he's the, on-ball pesky defender that KCP is either right now. But I think he can be a starting quality player, and I think he can actually be a really nice fit there at the 2.
I think we've seen it at times throughout the regular season, spot minutes where he's either starting for KCP or closing for KCP, or even in the case of MPJ, he knows how to play with Jokic, which is the biggest thing. Gives him the ball, and he gets out of the way, and he either cuts or he shoots. And I'm whistling a lot today. You hear now? I don't know what's going on.
You've done that twice.
I know.
In like the last week.
I gotta get my teeth. I don't know, man. This is a new thing. It's gonna be tough for my podcasting career. I can't say certain syllables, but it could work. It's a downgrade. It's
absolutely.
But it's part of the turnover process, right? Like year one, it would look way different. You'd have two guys that I think defenses would help off of in the playoffs. Christian can hit those shots, but I think teams would make him.
Yeah.
And it would take a while. He would have to grow into that role. But defensively, he works there. And I think as long as he's figured out how to play with Jokic, he's a guy who knows how to make himself useful, even against, tough matchups.
Yeah. Look, bringing back KCP, obviously the top priority. The Nuggets definitely do want to do that. But, I mean, they're not going to overpay for him, I don't think. And how you keep dynasties together and how you keep a contender contending in this era of the salary cap, people are going to come to realize this. You need a constant influx of talent in the pipeline, and that's what the Nuggets are trying to do. And so stuff like this is going to happen over the next several years. I mean, we'll see what offers are out there for KCP. I've gone on record and said if I'm a bad team, I would throw a damn near max at KCP for like a couple years. 2-year max if I'm the Charlotte Hornets.
Just to screw the Nuggets over?
No, just to be like LaMelo Ball. This is how you conduct yourself as an NBA player.
Great point.
He is the perfect vet that I would want if I'm a bad team. I would overpay for him.
He's also, man, watching KCP work, and it's cost him some in this round, but watching him work all season, so many guys take certain nights off or they play, but they kind of take the night off anyway. And we all say, man, it's such a long season. And KCP never does that.
Yeah.
He plays every possession like it's the playoffs. Even if he has to chase Steph around in February, he'll do it. And that is a great example for the young guys. And that is something, by the way, that Christian Brown can bring in spades. It's just that relentless motor.
Super durable, too.
And just kind of, it's helpful to have one guy in the starting lineup that's just in playoff mode from training camp. And I think Christian can be that guy.
Yep. All right. What else we got in the mailbag? Matthew Kimura. Do you think PWAT can still play in future series this season if we make it past the Wolves, or do you think he isn't quite ready yet?
I do. I think shot making kept him off, shooting kept him off the floor in this matchup where the Wolves are already so capable of shrinking the floor and making life really difficult for Denver's 1-2 punch. And I think Malone rightly calculated that, like, you either have to guard Justin Holiday or he's going to hit some shots. And he hit plenty in this series. That floor spacing was relevant and important, I should say. So it's not, Watson can be that guy down the line in his career, but if shooting is an issue and floor spacing is an issue, he's not going to play right now. That could change. If you're playing against the Mavs, he could be playing. If you're playing against the Thunder, even, he could be playing.
Oh, yeah.
You might really want him as an option to guard some of those guys. So PWAT's not out of this rotation. I think it's Justin and PWAT are like the 8 and 8.5 guys, and they're going to either alternate or one will catch scraps here and there. But PWAT's not done. We'll hear from him, I think.
Yeah, I think we could definitely hear from PWAT in a future series, definitely against the Mavs or Thunder. This series, though, it's just the type of series where what he brings isn't as needed because the Nuggets, I think they know they can defend this Timberwolves team with the 7 guys that they've been playing, with Christian and Justin Holiday as your 2 main guys off the bench. Edwards is really the only, big dominant scorer that they have to worry about. And that's kind of also the case for the Thunder. So maybe against the Thunder, it's not a PWAT series, but Dallas with Kyrie and Luka, I think maybe it could be. But the Nuggets know they can guard this Timberwolves team. They need Justin Holiday shooting more. They need offense more in this series. They need him to stretch the floor. And so it just comes down to their skill sets right now, and they need what Justin Holiday brings to the table more. but I agree with you. I don't think we've seen the last of PWAT.
Yeah, should they get to the next round, series isn't over. It's easy to feel that way. It isn't.
Right.
But the Mavs, I think, are a team where the Nuggets would be able to score on so routinely that you could throw Peyton Watson back in and not worry about disrupting any half-court operation.
I agree. All right, what else we have in the mailbag? This comes from Fred. Is Minnesota Dev traveling with the team today?
He's not with the team.
I assume he's going to Minnesota, right?
Dev is going to Minnesota.
Okay.
We're not going to fuck around here, man. Like I said, the series is not over. So we sent the closer to get the job done.
Yeah. He looked like he had a great time in Minnesota.
He did, man. He did. And shout out Dev, who, like, obviously we knew would crush it if we sent him. But I don't know if everyone knows this. Dev has a full-time job that's not this. So everything he does for us is deeply appreciated.
Yeah. And show Dev some love for that. He texted me last night at 1:23 a.m. We were just chatting about the show. He said, I got to get up at 6.
Unbelievable, dude.
That was at 1:23 a.m.
And this is a guy who, you know, also has to help. He's a steward to the future, to the children. And Dev lives an exhausting life, so I appreciate him taking care of business in Minnesota.
I was talking to a couple Minnesota PR people at Timberwolves shoot around the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, how was it having Dev in Minnesota? They said first, like, he was great, super professional, really crushed it. And then they also complimented him on how well he dressed.
Easy call.
Yeah.
With respect to, because we have friends on both sides of this fence in the media game, Minnesota and Denver. Yeah, I think Dev clears. I think Dev's coming in number 1. That's easy to see.
Yeah, shout out Dev. Show him some love on Twitter if you get the chance. What else we have in the mailbag? And then we'll take one more final break here. Josh Barnett down under. Do you think we've overrated home court advantage with this Nuggets team?
No.
I don't know.
I'm going to say no.
Then what happened in the first 2 games?
It's a good question. Well, in game 2, they never got to use their home court advantage because they just...
They lost it a possession into the game.
Yeah, like, what was the crowd supposed to do?
Yeah.
Come on, guys. It was just like 4 hours of Chris Paul hits a huge 3 to cut the lead to 43. It was just a whole game of that. So I don't know. I mean, look, the Nuggets are also a team that has struggled on the road in the regular season and have gone in and beaten some good teams in their houses. I think we have to accept that with 3-point variance, teams can lose at home, even if they're the better team. But you still want to play more games at home, man. And you still want to be at altitude. Even if it's overstated, it's still a factor. And I think the Nuggets want to have home court every time they can.
Yeah. I think the first 2 games of this series, the more I look into it, I really think the Nuggets just, first of all, didn't take the Lakers seriously, weren't scared or moved by the Lakers at all, never felt threatened in that series.
At all.
And they were probably wrong for thinking that way. Like, that was a bad frame of mind to be in because they needed 2-game winners to win. That was not a stress-free series by any means.
No.
And I feel like that energy carried over into the Timberwolves series.
That's really it.
Especially in game 1. And then, you know, you have Rudy Gobert as the late scratch in game 2. That energy is still there a little bit. And then the Nuggets, they just needed a wake-up call. And that was game 2.
Yeah, remember last year where we thought, we had that whole discussion about if they have a switch, and then it looked like they flipped it against Minnesota.
Right.
There is a switch.
Oh, this team has the biggest switch of any team.
Let's put that to rest. And they simply had not flipped it in the first round. Now, that was fine insofar as I don't think they could have played any worse against the Lakers, and they won in 5. They were never going to lose. But the real cost was coming into round 2 not being where they needed to be. Yeah. And obviously Murray's injury played a role in that.
Yep.
And
the Timberwolves were also the type of opponent that if you play with the energy that you had against the Lakers, they're going to pounce.
They're going to pounce you. And that's it, right? So it's not, I know Nuggets fans right now get often accused, and so do we on this show, of everything is with the Nuggets, and if they lose, it's because they didn't play hard enough. And I mean, the Nuggets are that much better than everyone else. I think this series is a good example. Like that, there were a lot of differences in games in the last 3 games that weren't just adjustments. Like Denver got their shit together. And so credit to the Wolves for all they did to throw Denver off. To your point, Denver, if they had stayed in that mode, they would have gotten swept by this team. But also, we see the difference here when Denver turns it on. They're better than what they showed us in games 1 and 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to remind you guys, if you're watching on Twitter, know we got a lot of new viewers seeing the show there. Head on over to YouTube. You can hop in the Toyota chat with us, join the community. A lot better viewing and watching experience there as well. It's how most people watch this show. And let's keep going with the mailbag here. What else do we have? This comes from Big Midas. A genie gives you the ability to bring back one Jokic-era former Nugget for next season. The stipulation is that they're guaranteed to play at the level of a viable but underwhelming ninth man. Who are you picking? The culturally ambiguous genie grants you one wish.
Is Monte too good to be the ninth man? Probably, right? If he's
kind of
back
the
in Denver.
ninth man for Minnesota.
That's what I'm saying. And also, I don't know if he should be, but whatever. That's not the point.
I'll tell you this. You know one guy who wasn't intimidated by the Nuggets last night? Monte Morris.
Yeah, man.
He kind of came in and played well.
Yo, he hit that midi, and this is so dumb. I kind of went, uh-oh. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. I'm like, oh, Monte likes these rims.
No,
you know?
he did hit that midi, and I was like, that's his spot.
That's it.
Pick
hit
and
that a
roll.
lot in this
Pick and
building.
roll. Defense collapses on Jokic.
Yeah.
Mid-ranger wide open. Top of the key.
It might be Gary right now, although Gary starts for it, but Gary shouldn't.
What I was thinking with that question, the ninth man probably not even playing for you in a playoff series, so do you just go for vibes?
Juancho Hernangomez.
That might be the answer.
He might also be like your 11th
Always
guy.
start coming through.
God, dude, he really is the guy I would bring back just to make everything feel better.
Do you think Juancho knows how much we love him in Denver? Probably not.
It's a good question. I bet you he's still a huge Jokic and Nuggets fan, though. I bet you he's watching those finals games and clapping for his boy.
Gary and Monte were at the finals in Miami last year. Jeff Green at the game last night. Can you imagine if Juancho showed up for a game?
Oh, my God.
Could you imagine?
Who's that girl on Twitter that's a super fan? Don't know if you and Juancho DM, but tell him to come to a Nuggets game, if that's the thing you do. And the girl who has like 19 of his jerseys.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That would
he's the
be
best.
a scene if Juancho showed up to a Nuggets playoff game. He's got to. Is Barcelona season still going on? I feel like it is.
I'm not going to embarrass myself. I have no idea. So a lot
I
of
feel like
Europeans in the chat.
I feel like their season's still going on.
It kind of feels like it never ends.
Yeah.
The international basketball. But yes, I actually think I want that more than any other right now. Is Juancho just sitting there?
The vibes will be great. But yeah, from a basketball standpoint, a Monte Morris type would be nice.
Yeah, but then he would just play over Reggie. To be honest,
Yeah.
who is also good in this series, by the way.
Well, Vogt, what's funny is when you play Reggie Jackson under 20 minutes a game, he's actually okay.
How about under 9?
He's even better.
He's actually really good.
Which is what they should have been playing him the whole year. End of rant.
All right, agreed. But shout out Reggie Jackson because he's doing a good job.
All right. Do we have anything else in the mailbag?
I got one more and then some.
One more in the mailbag from Zach Rothy. If you could construct a starting 5 best suited to guarding the current Denver Nuggets, who would that be? After game 2, I thought Minnesota had it, so I'm curious to know what we think it would actually take to stop Jokic and company. The Timberwolves have a lot of the ingredients.
I think if the Wolves were the same team, but Karl Anthony Towns was Anthony Davis.
Ooh. Would you have Rudy Gobert at center, or would you have Bam Adebayo? I think I'd have Adebayo.
That's a good question.
I would take Bam
That's a good
as
question.
a Jokic defender over anybody else, probably.
The thing, man, but here's what I love about this question in this series. To have a chance against Jokic, you have to load up so much on size that it costs you. It costs you in all these other ways. And I think the Wolves have, as far as guarding both Jokic and Murray, there is no roster in the league that's better suited to do it.
Yeah.
But it might not matter. And that's the best part about living legends is that we sort of realize in real time that all these other kind of checklists and filters that we run all these other players through, none of that applies to Jokic.
I'm sorry. The chat's informing me Juancho is at Panathinaikos
Oh, thank you, chat.
in Greece.
Thank
His
you, chat.
brother is playing for Barcelona.
I
My
knew our
mistake.
chat would know that. I
My
knew
mistake.
that.
So yeah, I'd go Adebayo at center. Power forward, I think Anthony Davis. Who Jokic cooks, but whatever.
Help defender. You're thinking of him as a help defender.
Yeah, exactly. McDaniels, Alexander Walker, like those guys could be on the all defense team to stop the Nuggets, right?
To guard Murray, they're top 5 choices.
Yeah.
Would you not take Drew?
Drew?
I don't know if Drew is a factor against the Nuggets.
It just kind of looks like it's the perfect size for Jamal.
Well, he's strong as hell, but I think you just want the longer guys against Jamal. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's easy to say.
Caruso?
Is it Embiid because in the regular season Jokic has had such a hard time kind of hanging with him in the two-way effort? Again,
Right.
I know how blasphemous that sounds right now. I think if they were in a series, it would be different.
Yeah.
But again, if you're hand-picking guys, do you still want Embiid at center?
Herb Jones
Herb Jones is a good one.
at the 3 or at the 2?
You're sacrificing so much on offense, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're just talking. What would be the best 5 to potentially stop the Nuggets starting 5? I don't care about offense.
You have to, though.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. Maybe just put like Big Val on the court so Jokic just tries to score every time and tires himself out.
Here's what I know. Under the actual CBA, you're not doing it. You're not building a roster that can do this.
Yeah. All right, let's hit super chats and then we'll get out of here for today's show.
Nugs, I'm getting a Camry tomorrow. Let's go, Nuggets.
Let's go! Joining the Toyota family.
We got to send that to sales.
Yeah.
Nugs, you have made our day.
Yeah, man, take a picture if you're getting it tomorrow and send it to us. That'd be huge.
Nico Perez, I swear Jokic is playing with our view of the basketball game. How does he do it? His vision of the game is truly next level. What a freaking night.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that was Jokic's best playoff game of his career? Because we were talking about this on the show, if it was last night or game 1 against the Lakers.
I think it was because...
I mean, he also had like a 50-point game against the Suns, but that wasn't a loss.
It's easy to say now because he was like literally perfect against the Lakers, just flawless. So, but I just think the Wolves actually did successfully build the best Jokic challenger, like as far as a defense built to make his life difficult. And that to me was it. You're like, oh, this is as good an option as you have in the league to make sure he doesn't score 40 points, have 13 assists, and not turn it over. Lo and behold, he did. And also the way it ended up being one-on-one in a fashion that almost never happens anymore in this league, and in a way the Wolves actively didn't want to happen. I just think this game showcases his inevitability more than anything.
Oh, yeah. This is number 1 for me. Time and circumstance factor into that. Game 5 of a 2-2 series against the 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, against the defense that is better designed than anybody else in the league to take him away. Also against Michael Jordan 2.0.
That's right. Yep. Forgot about that.
That was also happening. So it's number 1 for me.
I'm with you. Cedric Exquisite, hope to see y'all in Denver and Vegas. # Nuggets and 6.
We will be in both.
Cedric Exquisite again. D-Line, don't jinx us either. Wind, you're the realist.
Thank you.
Jason Cap, watching every national media expert pull the fastest 180 on Jokic has become my new favorite hobby. You think Jokic has Bird McHale combo? Fair comp. Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good one.
Yeah, it's nice, man. We're back to talking about Nikola Jokic as one of the best players to ever play.
Who would have thought, Wind? Who would have thought that 48 tough hours were not all it took to bury one of the best players of all time?
Yeah. You know, there are a lot of media members doing 180s. There are a lot of national pundits coming back to reality. Cool. I don't really care anymore.
I know.
I don't care about Nick Wright. I don't care about Kendrick Perkins. Those guys are all dead to me. I just don't care. It is what it is. I get no satisfaction out of them recognizing Nikola Jokic is amazing.
No,
I get none.
Their only success, the greatest trick they ever pulled, was getting themselves in the same conversation as Jokic. But you just have to remember that some people thought it was wise to be early on betting against who it looked like Jokic might be. Some people thought they would cash in on that stock and that take years later. And those people are as on the wrong side of history as I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's embarrassing. Congrats on being an outspoken, he's not that guy. Because yes, he is. And you should feel a little bit of shame.
It's like you could craft a lot of takes that you make yourself believe in. And it will be hard to craft a take that will go down in history as being more wrong than that.
All these people had to do was bring that same energy to Jason Tatum. They'd all look like geniuses, but they chose the wrong target. And anyway, enough about them. This is about another great day to be us, isn't it?
Celtics Cavs game 6 tonight.
Locked in.
Game 5.
Yeah, is Donovan Mitchell not going to play again?
He's out.
Whatever. It's got to be the Nugs.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Throw us a like before we get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow. Game 6 in Minnesota. We'll be here right in the Toyota Lounge pregame. Talk to you guys then.
We all silly like the mayor.